Okay, let's see here. Gotta do some lesson planning. Let's get my document open, start planning that out. Let's see. Behavior modification. I want it to be hands-on. So I gotta think of an organism to use. Teach them about some behavior. Now, what could I use? Well. I mean, dogs is the obvious choice. I have a lot of experience with dogs, but it's like, I can't have them in the building, and I don't want them using mine. So, something else. Well, maybe I could do something we already have in the building. We got lots of cattle. Could do some cattle, but they're just so big, and no, I just don't know enough. Can't work with the cattle for the students. Well, I mean, we got a lot of horses, and I've worked with the horses before. It could work. It'd be good. They'd like that. Could do a lot with the horses, but I don't know. A lot of cleanup, a lot of work. Just so big. But what do I use? They need some more hands-on stuff. I think I know what I gotta do. I don't want to, but I think it'll build my character. I think it'll be good for me. I think we just gotta bite the bullet and use the cockroaches. Could be fun, Let's do it. If you are like me and have a fear of insects or arthropods, that is totally okay. Nothing to be ashamed of. It is a real thing. It is a deep fear rooted in my veins. But we can improve. We can get desensitized, and we can see the beauty and see the lovely specimens that we have in front of us. Now it's time to think about how to use these nice model organisms to be able to teach about some behaviors. So get on the good old Google. Can you train a cockroach? Well, let's just see. Surprisingly, more things popped up than I would have thought. And I love that. There's actually some empirical literature out there as well that I found about classical conditioning and operant conditioning. But something that caught my eye is that they used a cockroach in Orange is the New Black. And it brought cigarettes to inmates. But how logical is this? Well, some were skeptical. I did find some valuable information about how I could potentially use these guys to model behavior modification. So not just observation, but manipulation. Because I found that some entomologists have been able to manipulate behavior through things like temperature, odor, and amount of light. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I've heard about them wanting to evade light, and, I kept reading, and that is confirmed here, that they don't want the light. And, I'm a big animal trainer, so I'm like, well, can I train a cockroach? So let's get over to YouTube and see some visual. Training a cockroach. Whoa. Well, right off the bat, we got something. Whoa. Oh my. Oh, whoa. Let's see what else we got. No way. So now let's give a little tour of the 3 females that I've housed right now. They're in a plastic terrarium. They got some dog food for a source of protein. some wood shavings as a substrate that I make sure to keep somewhat moist. They're all huddled on a little Brussels sprout that needs to be switched out, and they're all in the little hump of an egg carton to keep warm, I'm assuming, and to stay out of the light. So here I have one of the females. You can see the little mite that's crawling on the very top of her prothorax. But anyway, you can see her head at the very top there. She's got two antennae that are kind of helping her spatially of where she's at. And she's got 3 pairs of legs. And at the very end of her tarsi, or her little feet, you could think of them as, she's got little hooks, little tarsal hooks. And that's what's helping her to be able to grasp onto this Brussels sprout and not fall off of it. So she's kind of manipulating it to stay on it because she did not like me taking her out of her enclosure. But she's tasting it, moving around on it, smelling it, if you will, and trying to just get comfortable, because with her grabbing onto it, you can see at the beginning she was kind of almost upside down, but now she's managed to get upright on top of it where she's comfortable and kind of just hanging out. And we have a visitor. Not sure if they want to come out, but here's a nice side angle where you can see their head that's up underneath their thorax there. They don't really need to have super great sight because they normally are on the ground, low to the ground, digging, kind of burrowing almost, but using those appendages like their antennae to find their way, not so much their sight. They eat a lot of decomposing material. They really can eat just about anything, but they eat dead and decomposing material and are really important in nutrient cycling. And it's important to keep them moist. They can lose moisture, so I'm trying to mist the sides of it and not directly spray her. Seems a little rude. So mist that every so often. But also they get their moisture through the leaves and other things that you put in there as food, so some leafy greens or cucumbers or maybe even fruit, but vegetables attract less fruit flies. So here we have another visitor who's starting to venture out a little bit, but they do enjoy the darkness, so I'm not surprised they stayed underneath that egg carton. But this one here feels safe on top of her Brussels sprout, and now she's venturing off of it and is kind of getting a sense for where she's at. She's back in her enclosure on that substrate. But before I had the Brussels sprout in a different empty plastic terrarium, and not as big of a fan of that as being able to feel comfortable in this substrate. So now we have all 3 of them back. The 2 are still up in that egg carton where they feel safe and it's darker and they are not exposed. So they're just kind of hanging out, and that's where they like to reside most of the time. Sometimes they'll venture into the top when they're wanting to eat something or move around, but especially if we're keeping it cold, colder how humans like it, it's a little colder for them, so they kind of just stay put more. Rather than if it was warmer, they'd probably be a little bit more active. It's okay if you are feeling subconsciously scared. And maybe consciously scared. That is okay. It is perfectly normal. But there are ways that we can improve our confidence around these guys. And let's say you are scared. And there's no way you're not going to be scared. You can still do it scared. Like me. So let's see how I do it scared. So I am going to put on some latex gloves, because no shame in needing some gloves. Because I will tell you, it gives me more heebie-jeebies to have their little tarsal hooks in my skin. Well, not in my skin. I'm not helping here, am I? It helps me to have a thin barrier between actual specimen in my skin, and that's okay. If it helps you to be able to handle these guys with more confidence, I say go for it. Now I'm just taking some time to calmly observe, let my nerves settle a little, because yes, even though I've handled these guys, I still get nervous. So it helps me to just take some time to observe them and, make some general comparisons about how are these guys similar to me, as a wise entomologist taught me to do. So I compare that we have similar leg structures. They have a femur too. Fun fact, did you know that? Well, they do. So, oh my gosh, we're not so different, are we? That one moved really quick. Hey. That's okay though. She's a speedy gal. No shame to her. So just taking some time to observe them helps me to see that they're not so scary and feel that they're a little bit more predictable. Because sometimes what's scary is you don't really quite know what to expect out of them. But if you can just take some time to observe them, they become not so intimidating, if you will. What I like to do is put one flat down. Oh, she got flipped over, but they're hardy, they're okay. I mean, you don't want to drop them, but they're okay. I try to get them right kind of in their thorax, right before their abdomen, because I can grab them on the sides and their legs don't get me. Like sometimes if you grab them, they will try to make themselves feel secure and kind of flip around and grab onto your fingers, which is fine. I don't prefer that feeling though, so I just try to grab them gently at their thorax before their abdomen so that I can avoid their legs grabbing onto me. So you may need to just do some practice of transferring them to see how you can. Okay, so now what's the experiment here? What's the goal? What's the objective? What's the hypothesis? Well, we have learned, thinking back to that article and to things I've said, that they prefer the dark. So if we were to give them a choice between light and dark, a light side and a dark side, and for example, this tea maze, we would think they would choose the dark side because generally speaking, they prefer the dark, they're nocturnal, and they feel safe in the dark. So if they were to go to the dark side and kind of gain an understanding of the tea maze, and if they are able to remember and able to learn, we would hypothesize, that the next time we put them in there, they're going to go to that dark spot faster. They're going to go to where they like to be faster because they quote, know or remember spatially where that is. Lastly, which is more of a motivator, finding the dark or finding the food? I'm not going to spoil it and tell you which side she chose. This is for you guys to discover. So, which side do you think your cockroach is going to choose? And do you think that they are going to remember and go to that side faster once they know which side is the preferred or dark side? Or, if you do it with the food instead of the dark, are they going to go to the food faster? Can they learn? Can they be trained? Can cockroaches learn? Are cockroaches smart? They're not just the creepy crawly pests that people make them out to be. They're more than that. They're beautiful creatures. Look at that. Look at her. She's magnificent. So if you learned anything from today, I hope that you have gained an appreciation for these insects and their anatomy and their structure, because I sure have grown a love for them that I did not know was possible. And even if you don't love them, you don't have to. Hopefully you just have a newfound respect and gain some knowledge about a creature that is different than you, but not so different from you. We have similarities. We're all just out here living and trying to survive, right? So now here I am putting them back and getting everything settled. There she is. Oh, and I dropped her. Like I said, they're pretty hardy. Don't drop them, but she kind of just, she got flipped over? She's back. She's back on her back. Okay. Yep, sorry Mabel. Oh, but she's using her little tarsal pads to grip onto the plastic, and she got herself flipped back over, so she's good. I was watching. If she wouldn't have got flipped over, I would have flipped her back, but we're good. But they are pretty hardy, so. Great for beginners to learn how to handle the insects. And if I can do it, you can do it. And like I said, if you're still scared, that's okay. Do it scared, and you will surprise yourself of what you can accomplish. I believe in you, and I hope that you enjoyed learning about Madagascar hissing cockroaches, and I'm excited to know whether they can learn. If they learn, then who needs a dog when you have a roach? Okay, bye.